Okay, so when you hear Greenland, what comes to mind? Probably just a huge, remote, frozen island, right? And hey, you're not wrong, but here's the thing. That massive island is seriously heating up. And I don't just mean climatically. We're talking geopolitically. We're going to dig into why Greenland is fast becoming one of the most strategic places on the entire planet. All right, let's get into it.
So what's driving this huge shift? I mean, why are all the major world powers suddenly so interested in this sparsely populated chunk of Arctic ice? That's the big question we're tackling today. And trust me, the answer is this incredible story that weaves together geography, climate change, and a whole lot of global power plays.
It pretty much boils down to three huge reasons, and we're going to unpack each one. First, you've got its location. It's prime real estate for military bases. Then, there are these brand new shipping routes opening up as the ice disappears. And finally, get this, there's a literal treasure trove of minerals just waiting under all that ice.
But before we get into all of that, we've got to talk about the sheer mind-boggling scale of this place. Seriously, to get why Greenland matters so much, you have to understand its geography first. It's the foundation for everything. All right, let's start with a simple but super important fact. Greenland is the world's largest island. That isn't a continent, of course. It's so big you could almost mistake it for one, and that unique status is key. Now get your head around this number, 80%. A full 80% of this massive island is buried under an absolutely colossal ice sheet. We're not just talking about a bit of snow. This is a world literally defined by ice.
And just how thick are we talking? Well, in some spots, that ice is up to 3 kilometers deep. That's almost 2 miles. Just try to imagine that. An ice cap so huge, it could swallow mountains whole. It's what defines Greenland, but it's also what's changing, fast.
And here's where it gets really wild. For all that immense icy land, the entire population is only around 56,000 people. 56,000? That makes it one of the least densely populated places on the entire planet. A gigantic landmass with almost nobody on it. Okay, so keep that massive scale in your head because now we're going to pivot to the politics. And believe me, Greenland's political situation is just as unique as its landscape. It's kind of a nation charting its own path, but it's also still tied to something much bigger.
So the key term you need to know here is self-rule. See, since 2009, Greenland has been an autonomous territory. What that means is they've got their own government, their own parliament, and they call the shots on most of their own domestic stuff.
And this is where the power dynamic gets really interesting. On one hand, Greenland runs its own show for things like education, healthcare, the environment. But on the other, Denmark still controls the big picture items: foreign policy, defense, and the money. This creates this really delicate dance between independence and dependence, and that tension is right at the heart of what's next for Greenland.
Now that whole political setup feeds directly into the economy, which is at this incredible crossroads. You've got an economy that's been built on tradition for centuries, but now it's staring down a future with just massive and, frankly, controversial potential.
So, for a long time, Greenland's economy has basically stood on two legs. First, fishing. We're talking mainly shrimp and halibut. And second, a growing tourism industry for people who want that epic Arctic adventure. But here's the catch. The whole thing has been propped up by a heavy dependence on money from Denmark.
And that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? As the Arctic completely transforms, is that old economic model going to be enough to support Greenland's dream of maybe one day full independence?
Because here comes the game changer. As that massive ice sheet melts, it's starting to uncover what might be one of the planet's biggest untapped treasure chests. We're talking huge deposits of rare earth minerals. You know, the stuff that's absolutely vital for our smartphones, for electric cars, for everything. Plus, there's a ton of potential for oil, gas, and even uranium. This is why the world is suddenly paying very, very close attention.
All right, let's tie this all together. You've got the incredible geography, the unique politics, and this mind-blowing economic potential. So, the big question is, why should any of us care what Greenland does next?
Well, look at it this way. In the past, Greenland was basically just a frozen, remote outpost, kind of ignored. But right now, today, that melting ice is opening up brand new, much faster shipping lanes between Asia, Europe, and North America. In the future, it's looking like it could become a major hub for both pulling resources out of the ground and for military power.
And this really nails it, summing everything up perfectly. Greenland's importance comes down to a powerful trifecta: its perfect location for military bases, its control over new Arctic shipping routes, and of course that incredible mineral wealth hidden under the ice. And so that leaves us with this final massive question. As the ice keeps melting, Greenland is standing at a truly historic crossroads. Will it go for full independence, bankrolled by all those natural resources, or will it try to forge a different kind of future with Denmark and the rest of the world? Whatever choice they make, the ripples are going to be felt all across the globe.